Hello and welcome to Dice on Ice. This is episode 1 of the Crifoth campaign called Reclamation. If you don't know what Crifoth is, you can check out the description below where we have a book, this campaign setting that we've recently published. You can check it out there. But this will be the setting in action. Without further ado, we're just going to hop right into the game. Crifoth is a world that's been destroyed and obliterated. Centuries ago, demons ravaged the world, invading from a cosmos far beyond. And in the span of weeks, utterly destroyed what once was a prosperous kingdom, reducing everything to rubble, to ashes, to barren wastelands, and further yet more death. This is the world of Crifoth now, a world of bleakness, a world of survivors, and a world of tyranny. We see the great obsidian monoliths that comprise the demon strongholds that dot the various places of this world. But further from them, we can see empty sands and badlands, untouched by these vile forces. And these are where the survivors of Crifoth live. They live meager lives, scraping together food and water and shelter to just survive all of these terrors that plague the world. And it is in this remote corner of the world that we find our players. It's been day 49 on your travels, with the great red sun high above in the sky, beating down on your backs. The sun is not the only sun of Crifoth, for it shares the sky and it alternates with the gray sun, a more somber, darker sun that still burns just as hot. And as one shifts to the other, 49 times, you've traveled far through these winding canyons, stained red from the blood of thousands of dead people, where bones and rocks are indistinguishable, as rib cages and sandstone both protrude from the canyon walls, as the sand shifts from passing winds, revealing further massacres that happened far earlier in Crifoth's past. This is the place you find yourselves in, the four of you, following each other, each standing in the other person's shadow. Bone Whisperer, can you please show us and kind of explain your character, Megan, and tell us what they look like and how they're acting and how they're feeling in this downridden world?
Bone Whisperer looks up at the suns, slowly meeting together above the sky. And you can see her tongue kind of flit in and out of her mouth as she tastes the air. And when she does so, when she opens her mouth, you can see that it is devoid almost entirely of teeth. Her skin looks ragged, like a used piece of leather. But there is a wisdom, there is a fire in her eyes, a fight to survive. And so as she kind of looks around, she surveys the land with these wizened eyes. And she kind of puts her hand in her pack briefly and she pulls out a skull. Now, despite her age, she is quite tall, quite large. But even so, the skull is still large and hefty in her hands. It is, too, a skull of her kind. She looks at it with this reverence before she slowly puts it back into her pack and kind of pats it there for safety, and then looks back out into the sands.
Following close behind her is Chad. Can you please explain what your character looks like? How they're acting, how they're feeling in this world.
Yeah. Carnage is he's a fairly large tiefling. Not necessarily in muscle, but just tall. And he looks pale from the top portions of his horns and his head, but his mouth and his neck are all still that vibrant tiefling red. He looks as though he has definitely been a survivor, carrying a large halberd along his back. He's trying, other than that, though, he doesn't have much. He doesn't have a ton of armor, more just rags, and he seems as though he is looking to Bone Whisperer for some sort of guidance, as if trying to make sense of Crifoth. It only makes sense to sort of follow someone who has survived for so long. You definitely see that on the tops of his head, these large, almost obsidian-like horns protrude from his head, but they're starting to flake and turn pale. But on one of them, it's cut off, and it has a cap that's been burned into it, and on it is a white chalk mark, usually used by the Blood Knights, but it marks him as an exile, as a tossed out piece of garbage from their who chose to not follow in their footsteps.
And leading this pack of people through these badlands is Tomiko. Can you please show off who your character is and how they're feeling in this travel? You muted.
Sound good? There we go. Leading the pack is a tall feminine figure. She's wearing flowing linen wrappings that you could tell at one point were tinted, but are now sun faded drastically, and they've seen a lot of wear and tear, but yet they're still wrapped around her and around her face, obscuring her features. She's walking with a walking stick, surveying the landscape around them. And she stops briefly and unwraps her face. And you see that this is an orcish woman, which is slightly surprising given that she doesn't have the bulk that is normally associated with most orcish people. Instead, she's lithe, sinewy muscle with harsh eyes, dark hair braided thickly down the side of her neck, and all of her worldly belongings on her back. And she's tasting the air and just looking for where their next moment of respite could possibly be.
You taste tangs of iron and sulfur on the air. Harsh tastes that are befitting for the harsh world of Crifoth. You can taste the vile presence of demons everywhere, from the sand to even the water, now turned black as oil, to the air that flies and carries, scooping up sand and depositing it somewhere else. This is a world torn asunder, completely wrecked and ruined. And that is what you taste every day, every moment as you taste and sniff the air. Behind, trailing at the back of this pack, is Corey. Can you please explain to me, show off who your character is, what they look like, and how they're acting and feeling in this moment?
Absolutely, thank you. You see a very much smaller creature, definitely bipedal, humanoid. She's wearing gray, which looks like leather, but it's far too opaque to be leather. And it's tan. It's the only color that really doesn't make you more hot than it already is. And there's very nice embroidery, for lack of a better word, on the edges of the hooded figure that you see. I imagine the camera kind of pans around and it kind of gets to where her face is, and it's a very, very light-skinned human. Young woman. And she looks young. Maybe all of 18. Walking with a quarterstaff, looking around nervously even. And then she kind of looks up a little bit at the sun, that red sun that just glares at them from the sky. And she can't believe that it's been 62 of those since she's left her tribe. And when she looks up at the sun, you can see on her forehead, there's what looks like a tattoo at first, but it's not perfect enough to be a tattoo. It looks like it's actually part of her skin, and it is. There's a birthmark that looks like a sigil on her forehead. And she just looks lost. She doesn't look weathered like the rest of them. She doesn't look like a person that has been out and about, per se, as the rest have. She's feeling confident like she always does, because this is how she is. She's feeling like she's been providing water for these people for the last 49 days, because she can do that. She's looking like she wants something to do. The word I think I'd use for that is bored. She looks bored.
And as you speak of this water, the four of you have burnt through 2 of your supplies, whether that be 2 units of food, 2 units of water, or some mix thereof, on this travel that you've gone through. You've foraged for yourselves for a good fair bit in this long, arduous journey. You've been rationing your supply as best you can. You're down 2 from whatever you started with. If you have nothing that you started with, you instead gain the excess points as exhaustion points. And this is how it is as the 4 of you are walking, forming a somewhat of a line, weaving your way through these maze-like canyons with sheer drops that descend 50 or more feet down, great pillars of broken and shattered earth that rise 30 or 4 feet up in the sky in this narrow pathway that you're walking upon. Bone Whisperer, a bit of rubble and rock give way from underneath your feet. You can hear the clatter as stones tumble down this cliffside and into the darkness below, as your feet had been straying a little bit too close to the edge on one of these passes.
And so Bone Whisperer would just kind of, you hear this low guttural just as she kind of corrects herself back onto the pass, and she kind of looks down a bit over the this cliff face. Might I suggest we don't go down that way?
Gobachun chuckles. Funny.
I try. It's the only thing that keeps me going, it seems. Gift. Will you come here for a moment? Help an old woman, or an old Suri get her water from the back of her pack.
And Gift doesn't answer her right away because, as you said, we've been kind of zigzagging and so on and so forth, which she's kind of animatedly zigzagging. Because again, she's just very bored walking in the back. And then it dawns on her that she was spoken to. Yes, yes, mother. And she runs towards her and retrieves the water pouch that's on her back. And she sloshes it a few times. There's not very much left.
It's okay. I just need enough to wet
your mouth.
Lips. Thank you.
Yes. It's, you know, if we were to kill a creature, I could certainly create water, like I did a few days ago. I don't know why you guys don't let me do that every evening.
Well, there seems to be a lack of anything but us, and I don't think you'd want to do that to us, now would you?
Not to you. That... You know, she scares me.
And Bone Whisperer would say this louder than needs to be. Oh, Gobachun, she is strong. Isn't that right?
Gobachun grunts.
Yeah, she's strong. And
she mutters under her breath. Megan, you recognize that as basically a word that means like weak.
You hear this just like husky chuckle from Bone Whisperer.
She was talking about me again, wasn't she?
You will find your time to show her what you can do. Don't worry.
I'm so bored. She's just been walking and more walking.
Yes. We must be close now. The air smells different.
And she tries to sniff. Smells like manure like usual. That's all it ever smells like around here. It's just more dirt and desolation. Why isn't it beautiful and green like it is back at where the tribe is?
This is just how the world is.
And you
Isn't
warned
that
me and I
right,
didn't
Carnage?
believe you.
You know all about how the world is, don't you?
Oh. Thank you for always being there for me, Dear Bone Whisperer. I know that you have some deal with my father, and I need to make something of myself, as he always says.
You will. You will.
I hope so. And she kind of puts the water pouch back, and into the backpack or whatever of a Bone Whisperer, and puts her hood up again. Makes her feel a little more comfortable.
As we're walking along this canyon wall, I'm kind of randomly also tapping my staff against some of the openings as well, seeing if any of them might end up being passable, but I doubt it.
You found the best path. You've spotted out from a distance as you had climbed up some high spot, some spire, and laid out a path for yourself. And you check these other ways, whether they contain small caverns that might have some prize within them, or an alternate path. But nonetheless, they all prove you to be false. There is a shadow that eclipses the sun and casts you all in a blanket of darkness for a brief moment. And this shadow then lifts as quick as it came. Something has passed you overhead.
I think
I stop everyone. No talk. Quietly. And I cast Pass Without a Trace.
And what does this spell look like as you shield your companions from notice?
Gobachun grips her staff and closes her eyes, and even though it is in a particularly sandy area up here on this ledge, there is still quite a bit of dust from the rocks and the rubble. The dust itself seems to rise up and swirl around, so there is almost like a layer of dust that obscures our footsteps from where we've been and also blocks our visages, hopefully, from anyone looking from below or above.
Awesome. And you're now cloaked in this sand as you trek further and further down. This pass, it snakes and it descends further down. It's not descending fast, but it's gradual. It's still noticeable as each step, your steps are eased a bit as gravity helps you walk down this downhill. Carnage has been quiet. What is he doing?
Carnage has been quiet. And I think a lot of it is because for the longest time, he was on this sort of pilgrimage to find Bone Whisperer. Now that he has, it's just after he's now been branded. He's been exiled, he's been branded, and he's seeking her and her wisdom. So I think at this point, as they're walking down in this cover, he looks to Gobachun and doesn't say anything. But there's like this silent nod of, I'm impressed with like how you did that. And then he looks to Bone Whisperer. I did not think I would see you again. It's amazing that you continue to survive.
Yes, my life has surpassed even my astonishment.
Yes. And you see that for the first time, I think you may not have seen him in a long time, but there's this collar around his neck that has chains that are still dangling from his exile and his escape, is being thrown out into the masses. Where are we going, Bone Whisperer?
Well, right now we are trying to be silent, I think. There's something overhead.
Yes.
After that... And you see Bone Whisperer just kind of sniffs the air. Maybe her tongue just flits out a few times. Northeast seems to taste the best. Is that a problem, Carnage? Would you like to go somewhere else? Perhaps northwest?
He thinks about it for a minute. No, I will be fine. But he looks up, that, trying to keep watch of whatever that shadow was above. I agree with Gobachun. We should keep quiet and prepare ourselves for whatever is lying in wait. I've been ambushed far too many times in Crifoth at this point.
And Bone Whisperer would just kind of nod and copy Carnage in his just looking around.
Bone Whisperer, you remember the day that Carnage came to your hut so many days ago, so many miles from here. What does your hut look like?
Bone Whisperer's hut is nothing more than a tangle of brambles, of this old dead wood that is hardened, that has lost its moisture. It's rigid. And it vaguely resembles a shape of some sort of house or hut. And if you didn't know any better, or if you didn't see the little bit of smoke coming from, you might have missed it. But if you were to go in, and there's a bit of a dip, if you go in and you immediately smell herbs, spices, and the hint of death circulating in this hut. It's very hot, even hotter than outside, and humid in this hut. And there are various herbs hanging, drying. There's meat kind of sizzling over a fire. A small bed made of leaves and furs. Many cannot stand to be in this hut for more than 20 minutes. The heat, the humidity, the wetness is just unbearable. But this is where Bone Whisperer has called home for many years.
And what did Carnage do? What did he say, and how did he act when he entered this abode of the Suri.
Yeah. I think it was frantic. He was beaten, his horn cut off by a blade, and then they branded him to remind him that he is no longer welcome. As a Blood Knight, he is not a legion, he is not anything. He is just a tiefling amongst Crifoth. And they left him to die. He struggled and he fought his way to this Suri's hut. For this Suri was the one who he felt he could trust. For some reason, he felt inclined. And here he arrives at this old hut. He raps on the door. Bone Whisperer, are you there? I don't know how long I'll last.
And this memory is cut short as Gubachun, you've noticed with the corner of your eye, a pair of curling horns pass and retreat behind some rock. In between these horns is a bunch of matted, bloodied fur, not unlike that of a goat.
She stops. Mortar. Dagul. Megan, you know this to be danger, demon.
That carnage sniffs the air. And like a puff of just heat radiates out from his nose, just, and he grips onto his halberd from the back.
Gobaz, gesturing with her staff the direction towards where I saw the horns dip away.
Yeah, 30 feet down on some crevice, some cliff face beyond, inaccessible unless you make some winding path that has many sheer cliffs, is where you saw this goat head duck away. Do you press on?
Is it in the direction we're going?
It is perpendicular to the direction you're going. It is kind of past some chasm.
So, like, down the chasm on the other side of the chasm,
Yeah,
not directly
across,
in
yeah.
the path.
Yeah, not in your path. As your way kind of curls, it's just
Okay.
somewhere else.
Sweet. So she'll still point and then direct them to keep going. Go. Slow.
And with that, I'll need everyone to roll stealth checks, please. With the plus 10 bonus, I believe it is, that Pass Without Trace gives. If you're wanting to be stealthy in this canyon gorge, which I'm thinking that you guys might want to be. You can throw those stealth rolls in the chat if you wish. And so thankfully, due to the cloaking nature of this Pass Without Trace spell, you're able to press on further down this gorge for another hour without interruption, without notice. But in this hour, the heat carries on still. The trek wears on your bodies. Each are going to take 2 points of exhaustion from this further escapade as the sun just beats directly from overhead. And as you crest this hill that is no more than 5 feet wide, with sheer drops on either sides and a great pillar of stone and earth that breaks these chasms, you see in the distance, across this chasm way, something. Is it a rocky outcropping? No. It's too imperfect. It's a different color. It's too brown. It's not red like the rest of the stone. It is, as you look closer, as you squint, as the air wavers from the heat of the world, you can see that it's the remnants, shattered wood splinters. It's been petrified. What used to be some kind of wagon on rickety wheels fastened together with leather cords and stone axles is the ruins of some caravan, is the best way you describe it. But such trading companies do not exist in this world. It'd be some straggler, perhaps, that has these things. And attached to this ruin of a wagon, with its contents spilled everywhere, some of them even lodged on like rocky outcroppings down below on the chasms of either side. It looks to be some kind of cage with wooden pillars as its bars, these planks of really crude wood, branches, and brambles. It stands 8 feet tall, 6 feet wide. It's a massive cage. And you can just barely make out the details of some slumped figure in one of its corners. And with that, we're going to take a quick bio break for our players to go do their stuff. And when we come back, we'll investigate the scene further. And this is the scene that you find yourself in. You see the long snaking path. Where you are is the highest point of this canyonway. These large stone pillars kind of block sight, but you see this is the cage. It is holding some figure. It is teetering on the edge of this cliff chasm. The figure is not moving. This wagon, the debris of it, has many things, perhaps, strewn about. Some have fallen over to the abyss on each side. Some, however, are shattered, and some still yet are somewhat untouched by the ravages of nature. I'm going to start with Gobachun. What do you do?
Gobachun will turn to the others and say, supplies. And beckon and begin to move. Hold on. I can do this. Begin to move down the passageway.
And you do so unhindered. As you get closer and you see the figure has two large horns, kind of a muddish orange in color, sprouting from their forehead, with black greasy hair covering their face and their body. It's long, it's uncut. It seems like it's been months before this person has been able to clip their hair. Their body is a withered skeleton. And you see that one of their hands is kind of pinned and trapped between two of these bars of the cage. And you see that half the cage is literally off the edge. Any small force could nudge it off the edge of this cliff and send it tumbling below.
And Gobachun considers it, because this is a demon. Dagul. But she refrains and instead goes up and starts looking through the supplies.
And as you begin to do so, Corey, it is Gift's turn, if you are available to do some stuff. What would Gift like to do?
Got all tangled up. Sorry. So Gift is standing enamored, looking at the large green woman. The woman that she's been calling her mother, which is clearly not her mother, has assured to her is not a beast and not something that she should be afraid of. She sees her approach this caged, or she may be even concerned animal, and she looks to Bone Whisper and says, should I proceed? You've told me that I should stay behind. Is that still the order, Mother?
As long as Gobachun is there, you should be safe to go and take a look.
Okay.
Don't get too close.
Should I walk or should I just appear there? She gives a smile.
You, like I have said before, should take every opportunity to exercise what has been given to you.
And she very excitingly looks at her quarterstaff, looks back up at Bone Whisperer, and then starts to stare at the ground. And I found a really cool sigil maker that I actually could write any words in and make sigils. It's so cool. So I'm gonna get what exactly this should be. Oh, this one's really easy. Okay. And on the ground, she draws not too far in front of her left foot a straight line, and then abruptly, maybe 3 feet away from her, she makes a right turn, and then directly almost to where her robes hang, it becomes a point. Well, almost a point because she hasn't finished it yet, but it looks kind of like a triangle. And she looks at Bone Whisperer, and then I'm assuming the big guy's there as well, and just kind of gives them both a little nod. And the ground turns a little bit bluish, somewhere between blue and green in this tracing that she's made. And you see Gift disappear. And across the chasm, as we can they see the map? I don't know if I can see the map.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Stream can see
And
the
across,
map.
yeah, across the map. How far is this from where I'm theoretically standing to where, like, say I can't do
3,
things.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 50 feet from where you are to where Gubachin is.
Okay, so at the edge. See, can I draw here? So I can draw on this?
Yeah, but I prefer you to not draw if possible, unless you have
Okay,
like an area.
Yeah. But so if it's at the edge where I can see it's a chasm, I want to be like where there's like directly in a straight line from where Gobachu is to where like that little rock formation is. That's
Sure,
within
you move yourself there. Yep.
All right. So she just reappears right here. And the sigil kind of appears on the ground for a moment again, and then she reappears. And she looks back over at Bone Whisperer and says, "Well, I made," and she says it a little bit too loud. I made it.
Bone, you do realize bringing a child here was probably not the smartest thing you've ever done.
Well, she is naive. I'm sure her talents... Well, I hope her talents outweigh that childlikeness of her. But if it doesn't, she will learn very quickly what will happen.
And Bone Whisperer, what do you do?
As if not in a very fast pace, Bone Whisperer is just going to start kind of hobbling on her quarterstaff, leaning on it quite heavily, and is just going to kind of move just to here. Or I guess she can't really can she still see?
Because of the elevation, you can see basically the whole map. You're able to see in some shape or form.
Yeah, so that's what she's gonna do. She's just gonna kind of be here for a while, and she's gonna faint. Well, she's gonna be like catching her breath, just kind of wheezing.
The woman next to you, as you can tell, is now a woman, Gobachin, kind of springs to life groggily as she comes to. She animates, lifting herself a little bit. You can tell she is listening for something. and she begins tugging on her hand that's trapped in these bars of this cage, and she sees you there, and you can see her eyes seem very sunken in. She's got like the obsidian black irises that tieflings have, and she wheezes to you, they're coming back, they're coming back, as she begins fervently more and more tugging, trying to get herself free. And as she says that, Gobachun and Gift, you'd hear the scratchings as many claws scrape against stone. As many you see in view now, as some kind of climb over the edge, lithe forms that have the head of a goat with big curling horns. The whole front of it is blood and matted. The tongue is lolling out. The bottom jaw is missing. As these reptilian forms crawl up the cliff side. And they appear surrounding you. They brandish spears and blades that are kind of carved from bone. They have, and some of them even possess flames that crackle between their talons. These are Suri, but a different kind of Suri than what Bone Whisperer is. These are small, lithe, quick-foot Suri that are wearing skull caps of dismembered goats that have been smeared with various like crude markings on their head with this red maroon blood. Carnage, what do you do?
I think Carnage, being this lanky survivor, right? He knows how to judge terrain. And I think where he and Bone Whisperer are, he looks to her and says,
"Let me get a better view up front. Then you can go down."
And I think at that point he starts to climb. That cliff face there, to try to get a better view of the surroundings and potential threats as he's now hearing all of these noises coming from inside the canyon.
And yeah, you see the half a dozen Suri that wear the skull caps of dead goats climb up the cliff face, surrounding these people, your companions. That brings us to the Dungeon Master's turn. These Suri appear, the ones that are yellower, the little tokens there, are the ones that brandish fire in their talons. And these ones, they almost rise up into the air, floating on hot air as they cook the air around them and levitate, and they expel themselves up onto these rocky outcroppings that are between 10 and 20 feet up in the air. And they lob flames down. One hits one of these barrels and catches it ablaze. The other goes for Gobachun, hitting you. Ouch. For 4 points of fire damage. These not as yellow Suri tokens. This one climbs up, scrabbling over the rubble in the flames, almost as if they were unhindered by the fire. This one stabs at you, so does this one, and this one stabs at you, Gift, with their spears and bone blades. So that is a whopping 6 attacks in total between the three of them. All right, so I got 2 hits on you, Gobachun, assuming that a Assuming that a 14 hits.
Yes, that will.
Otherwise, it's only one hit. All right. So that's 2 hits with these ramshackle weapons, doing a combined damage of 14 points of piercing damage between these hacks and scratches. In Gift, you were attacked with a 15 to hit and a 20 to hit. Those both hit, and they combine do 14 points of damage as well. A large black shadow eclipses the entirety of this scene as it races across, starting from west and going east. The shadow appears as quick as it vanishes. I'm going to roll a d4. In 2 rounds, something will happen. Gobachun, what do you do?
What do I want to do, or what do I actually do? Okay. Gobachun is shaking off those hits and turns to one of the small Surreys and in rage grabs her staff and knocks it onto the ground. A cloud of vermin, mites, fleas, all kinds of biting insects rises up and descends upon the Surrey. I am casting Infestation.
All right, on one of these melee series.
Yep. This would be con save DC 14.
Well, I got a 13, so that's a fail.
On a failed save, they will take 2d6 poison damage, and they will move 5 feet in a random direction.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's 11 points of damage. What up? And for the D4, that is a 2.
That's just up, down, north, or east, west kind of thing?
South.
So 5 feet south. So which one are we breaking? The one west of you or the one north of you?
That would be the one that's in all of the crap, not the one by the cage.
This one flees from these biting insects, almost to the edge of the canyon, kind of slipping back on it now. It rears its head back and sees how close it is to the cliff, and kind of goes down on all fours with the spear kind of posed. It snarls and hisses and kind of strikes at this cloud of flies and locusts that you've summoned. And it hisses, and it makes these awful Surrey sounds. And Chad, you can make some Surrey sounds for me that these Surrey are making.
Sure.
That brings us to Gift. What would you like to do?
So many things. All right, so Gift looks at the creature that is hit her with the pathetic sword that it's holding, and looks around a bit. Well, I'm supposed to use these things, so okay, we're gonna do it. And so he's on the ground, right? He's, I mean, because in the map it looks like he's hanging off the cliff, but that's okay.
Yeah, he's like half up there. He's dangling off the edge of the cliff, but he's still stabbing at you nonetheless, going at your ankles and your legs.
Yeah, absolutely. And she looks at him and goes, "You look a little bit like my friend." But then again, not so much. And she draws onto the ground in front of herself what looks like a Z, kind of. It starts out near, again, her left foot and goes almost to where her right foot is, but then very strikingly back and then zigzag towards the creature. And it glows that bluish-green tint again. And she says, I have a new friend for you to play with. And she casts Dust Devil onto the ground as she reaches into her component pouch and blows a little bit of sand at the creature.
Awesome. Now, what does Dust Devil do?
Dust Devil, I choose an unoccupied 5-foot cube of air
Nice.
within range. The elemental force that resembles a Dust Devil appears in the cube and lasts for the spell's duration, which is 1 minute. Any creature that ends up in the 5-foot cube must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 8 bludgeoning damage, which is 8 bludgeoning damage, and is pushed 10 feet away from the Dust Devil. On a successful save, the creature must take half damage as it pushed. And then I can move it as a bonus action.
There you go. I made a square for you. That can be your Dust Devil.
Okay. And I can move it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Dust Devil is going to be in what would be the square in front of this creature. Okay. I don't want to block it.
Awesome. Now it can't go into that space, right?
Well,
Or
it could.
negative effects if it does. Yeah.
It could, and I'm gonna hopefully bait it to do so, or just move it on top of it in the next as a bonus action, which I could do right now because I still have one. So as a bonus action, I can move the Dust Devil up to 30 feet. If the Dust Devil moves over sand, loose dirt, gravel, yada yada yada, it forms a 10-foot radius cloud of debris around itself until the next turn. The cloud area is heavily obscured, so I'm going to move it actually towards that guy.
Awesome. Yeah. So it definitely picks up all this dirt and sand and rubble, making that really obscured sandstorm area that whips around it.
And I'm going to take that moment to move because it's obscured. It's an obscured area on top of him now. I guess, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to move dish away. Whatever, 30 feet. You can move me as far as you want.
Yeah, with this setup, we're not going to be totally exact with measurements. It's just going to be eyeballs. Okay. Eyeballing stuff.
Yeah, so I'm gonna come over here near a bone picker.
Awesome.
And now the square is on top of him. So, yep. That's what's going to happen. And again, if any creature ends its turn. So yeah. So at the end of his turn, he's got to do things.
Awesome. Bone Whisperer, you're seeing this chaos unfold down this way. What would you like to do?
Gift, when you approach Bone Whisperer, you see that there is a particular kind of shine to Bone Whisperer's eyes, like a particular hatred that's just kind of sparked. But despite this, she continues to move towards the fray, the middle. So how much would you say 30 feet is?
Yeah, seems good.
Here?
Yep.
Okay. And you would just see, and as she's walking very slowly, methodically, just kind of with her quarterstaff kind of hunched over. She kind of looks around, and then she bangs her quarterstaff 3 times against the ground, just and suddenly out from the base of her staff is this explosion of these black figures, almost humanoid, but not quite, as they kind of, they're just, their shape is a bit off. They're a bit malformed, with their mouths very, very large and gaped open, and their eyes sunken in, and they kind of fly out from her staff. And she is casting Spirit Guardians.
Cool. So what kind of zone is that?
That is going to be 15 feet. 15
Radius?
foot radius.
Okay.
And yeah. So anyone in this sphere is halved. Their speed is halved. And when the creature enters the area for the first time or starts to turn there, they must make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. Starts its turn or ends its turn?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Starts its turn there, goes into it, or ends its turn there.
Awesome. And you can reposition that circle to be where it really is. As these black figures just encircle like a misty tornado around you. Carnage. What do you like to do?
Carnage. Can Carnage see the tiefling or whatever creature with the horns is in the cage?
Yes, from this vantage point, you can see them struggling to free their hand more and more fervently. There's a snarling Suri like right next to her, and she's fearful of this creature and trying to yank harder and harder to free herself.
So upon seeing this, and especially upon seeing like Bone Whisperer enter the fray, he leaps down from his perch. His like large body taking a thud. He grabs onto his halberd, the edge of the bronze blade sort of like scraping against the ground like a grim reaper, and he looks to Gift.
Stay behind me, girl. There may be more blood than you can handle.
And he like starts rushing forward to towards the fray. You said 30 feet, right? So 30 feet would be roughly in this zone. Roughly. I don't want to like step over people and spaces, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, you can move wherever you wish.
Okay, I thought I was in the right spot, but for some reason,
looks like you're using the line tool.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Just use the little cursor tool. There we go.
Okay, there we go. I don't know why I was in that set. Okay, there we go. Blop. Just to sort of get a better vantage, and then there is a Suri, like right next to Bone Whisperer at the moment, right? Being kind of frayed by this Dust Devil.
Yeah,
correct?
Both by the Dust Devil and the spirits that Bone Whisperer has conjured.
Okay. So my movement is up to 30 feet, so I'm trying to figure out if I should step in front or stay right behind and then just attack this one. I just feel like it's kind of overkill at this point. Yeah, I think I'm going to step in front of Bone Whisperer, just in case anything comes in towards. So I'm going to hold any of my other actions until creatures come in to attack. And
okay. And so it is then the Dungeon Master's turn. As another black shadow eclipses the sun yet again, this time going the opposite direction, coming from the east and going to the west. And as it passes, each of the Suri that aren't engaged in mortal combat, the two that are wielding flames perched on these high rocks, and the one that's being harassed by these insects, look to the sky. They drop down on their knees and they pray as they fold their hands together and they utter these alien words that only a Suri tongue can muster. Meanwhile, the two that are really locked in combat, the one on you, Gobachun, and now the one that's being harassed by this dust devil and these spirit guardians, they each stab at their respective foes. So Gobachun will do you first, as 2 spear attacks come your way. One is a critical hit, the other is a 17. All right, the critical hit does 6 points of piercing damage right to your blood. And the regular hit does 8 points of damage. And the other Suri that's kind of dangling from the cliffside, being harassed by all these elements, just uses their action to really stabilize and hold on. But unfortunately, he's being pushed by this gale and buffet of winds. So he has to make a strength save, right, against your Dust Devil. And he fails it completely, no matter what save it is. So he's pushed.
Yeah, strength.
Yeah, he's pushed 10 feet away as he plummets down this chasm. And you hear the snapping of bones and crunch of things as he hits rocks, as he tumbles and hits rocks again. As he expires, as he cracks from all the protruding rocks, and those who could see would see this Suri body impaled by these jagged spikes down at the cliffside below.
Lovely.
The tiefling woman rasps out, "Please, get me out of here! Please, before it comes again!" Gobachun, is your turn. What would you like to do?
Are the people who are inside of the obscured area within 15-foot radius of me?
Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay.
I'd say that Carnage is, but Bone Whisperer isn't. Because her circle is a 15-foot radius, and you're just outside of it. Therefore, she'd just be outside of yours.
Okie dokie. So, so Gobachun grabs her staff again, and she begins to swirl it. And as she does, dust and debris rises up. And it's actually going to go out in a dun. It's actually going to go out 120 freaking feet. She spreads her arms, and the sand spread out 120 feet, and they cascade into all of you. But you're bracing for the impact, but instead the sands cocoon and envelop you, and everybody going to get some heals, because why not? I'm gonna do 2d6 on this, so that's 9.
And so you recover 9 grit points from this cascade of tidal loveliness.
Oh, that was a bonus action. Fuck. As a regular action, Gobachun's gonna frickin' cast Cure Wounds on herself. What is that? Oh, Seaver. 6 plus mod, so that's another 9. Go me.
Yay!
Yay.
Healing for everybody. Gift. What do you do as your dust devil has knocked this Suri free from the chasm, from the cliff face, and knocked it to its doom below?
First, I'm gonna mute myself. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring up the map again so I can see it. All right, how far do you say that I am from the one that ran away to the south?
This guy is, let's see. So 30, about 60 feet, give or take some.
Okay, that is perfect. She is going to look at him and say, he has been hurt. And I like that. She smiles a little bit. This is all inner monologue just for, the viewers and so on and so forth. And she looks at her pretty little dust devil and kind of waves to it. And I'm going to cast a spell that you know well because you wrote it, sir. And she, again, takes a few steps forward, not very much, maybe to the edge of where that circle is. So she'll move to about there and say, it is time for you to fester those wounds that you already have. And she casts Fester onto the creature after drawing a sigil that looks a little bit like another triangle, but it has a much longer end to it.
Awesome. So this is a Constitution save, if I recall correctly.
I believe it is. Let me just look, because, the guy that wrote it should know.
And, well, regardless of what save it is, it got a total of 2.
Oh, good.
Rolled a 2.
Oh, lovely. That's gonna be great for him. And that is an 8 on the dice. So that is. Oh, I gotta roll it again. That's fun. So 8 plus 1 is 9. And he also takes 3 blood points. Because
this creature is not missing any of its blood points.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
It's not.
So it takes 9.
9 necrotic damage. As its body withers away, any wounds that it could have had would have easily gone necrotic from this. Thankfully, those wounds he got from these bees were surface at worst.
Okay. And I would also like to move my little dust devil. Oops. Yeah, I want to go right. Because this is still an active person, right?
Yeah, it's also up in the air about 10 or 15 feet. That ledge.
That's fine.
Yeah, the dust devil can fly.
Oh, wait. No, I guess it can't. So then I guess it goes over this guy right here.
Awesome.
And again, as it moves again, it's picking up more and more and more debris. And it's some of the debris is crashing into the cage, and even a little bit into the big scary green lady. And she just kind of looks out to Bone Whisperer and goes, "Am I doing well?"
And Go Between, you find yourself in this swirling sandstorm that blocks your vision as this dust devil comes roaring by. Bone Whisperer, it is your turn. Your turn.
If you can hear Bone Whisper over the sound of the wind and the chattering of the Susuri, you just hear this, yes, I suppose. And Carnage, you would feel this hand on your shoulder a little bit too heavily, as if she was kind of holding you for support, and you just feel her just kind of move past you, still kind of wobbling on her staff, hunched. And she's gonna move here if she can, which would put this like there. Yeah. And then she's gonna.
There we go.
Yeah. And then she's going to. What is she gonna do? She's going to. Is she like? Can she just like touch Gobachin? Is that how close they are?
Yep.
Nope. Never mind. She's not gonna do that. She's just gonna ready an action with her quarterstaff. If something comes after her, she's gonna hit it over the head. But only if something comes after her. Otherwise, she'll just let the spirit guardians do their thing.
Carnage. What you do is Bone Whisperer passes you.
Bone Whisperer passes me up, and I know that I know that touch. I feel like in times past, like I've known that like it'll be okay. Just let me do what I have to do. All right? And he has this apprehensive moment of like, what are you doing? Just let me handle this. I can take care of it. But she passes him. Upon that, he is now intently focused on the creature in the cage. That being said, now that he is much closer, can he see, like, definitively who or what is in the cage?
Unfortunately, there's a swirling sandstorm caused by this dust devil that's picking up debris, and even a bit of like the clay pottery that was once in this wagon, kind of just in the debris and the shrapnel thereof, and just whipping it around it. So the answer is no. In fact,
No.
you could barely see anything as you're standing at the edge of this sandstorm swirling.
Okay, so can I see any of the enemies in front of me? Like, am I within range enough to at least see some of these Susuri that are within this torrent circle?
The best, you could see the one that's on the cliff face up here.
Okay, cool.
But it's 15 feet up.
15 feet up. Okay, still not a big problem. At this point, he's going to have the halberd in one hand, right? He's going to hold it and kind of mount it to the side. He's going to take his other hand and he's going to pull out the slender end of an old worn javelin. And he looks to the Susuri and just without even flinching, like he's been trained to do this, flings it up at the Susuri, 15 feet up, as hard as he can, hoping to impale this Susuri against the cliff face.
Awesome. Give me that attack roll.
Okay, so let me look at my character sheet, Joel. Okay, yeah. All right, that's not bad. 15 to hit.
That just hits.
Yeah.
These things are live, and they're actually like floating in the air, aloft by the weird like balloon kind of, or like hot air balloon based physics of this hot air that's rising from their magic.
All right, so he roars this aggression as he hurls this, and it flings forward and cracks this creature for 12 damage. Just full on impale. this creature.
Yeah, you knock it askew. It was aloft in this. It tried to duck out of the way. You kind of graze it, but it loses all of its balance because it's precariously balanced, floating in the air, and it kind of crashes into a slump, just 5 feet, not even 5 feet in one way, and it kind of scrabbles back up onto all fours and onto its hind legs afterwards.
Yeah, and at that point, he then grabs a hold of the halberd still in his other hand, flips it around, and then dual hands it, and just waits for more of them to come at him.
Awesome. These Suri that are atop these ledges, they fling. Each of them flings 3 bolts of fire. One would hit. So they're each aiming at one at Bone Whisperer, one at Carnage, and one at Gift, way in the distance. So for Gobachun, sorry, not Gobachun, for Bone Whisperer, the best of you got a 13 and a 16 to hit.
The 16 hits.
Okay. That would be 8 points of fire damage. Carnage. We got 21 and 21 to hit.
Both will hit, but as a tiefling, he will have resistance to any fire damage.
Awesome. So this is unmodified. 9 points of fire damage. So that'll round down to 4 for you.
Okay, cool.
And lastly, Gift. 2 of these scorching rays, these missiles of fire, get launched towards you, way off in the distance. One got a 9, the other got a 17. And the 17 gets you for 5 fire damage. A loud bellow shakes the earth as a heat wave descends upon this whole scene. And following it is a massive monster, as best as I can describe, that comes flying in. And from its mouth, just this, no flame leaves its lips, as a great winged beast made of embers of charcoal, of burnt trees, of roaring flames of bonfires, in the form of a dragon, comes down, swooping with this just heat wave of pure raw heat, like that from your hair dryer, except times 1,000, comes and just causes this petrified wood to just catch ablaze as it flies off in the distance and out of sight, kind of weaving in between these canyon walls. This Suri just gets melted. This Suri likewise melted. And before they die of just being blistered and boiled alive, they fall to their knees and pray at this great beast. And one after the other, all of these supplies of this tipped over wagon begin to catch flame spontaneously in this otherworldly heat. And in these flames, you can see casks of wine spill and boil. You can see various weapons begin to catch flame as well, as just a bonfire emerges and engulfs and consumes essentially all of this stuff. This last Suri it's in the middle of this dust devil. It's seeing nothing as it's just heavily obscured, and it cuts out wildly in front of it, attacking with disadvantage at you, Gobachun. That's going to be a 11 to hit. So it hits and misses. And lastly, the spirit guardians that you've summoned, Bone Whisperer, begin to harass all of these Suri that are within this radius. And so they each all to make wisdom saves, you say?
Yep,
Well,
wisdom saves. Yep.
That's not good. What's your DC?
14.
Okay, one of them succeeds, which is the one on top of the ledge that's slinging fire. The other two, or the Suri fails.
So that's 15 points of necrotic.
Okay. So this guy's dead. This guy is dead. This guy's taken 15. And you hear from this howling gale of sand, "Ah!" in the same raspy voice. And it cuts her voice short of, "Get me out!" And lastly, the dust devil you've conjured kind of tries to push out this Suri that it's encapsulated. And it got a 8 on its strength save. So it is also pushed 10 feet and plummets to its doom in the chasm below.
I haven't even been able to use the damage on it yet. It just keeps throwing people off chasms. I like this.
You see, the four of you see in the distance coming back for a second swoop is that same dragon coming from the east. And it's going to be here next round as it flies and buffets the wind, and it roars once again, announcing its presence. That brings us to Gobachun.
So the dragon is off to the east right now?
Yeah, off the screen, off the map.
And to the west is a fiery inferno.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah, I don't know. I am moving kind of over here to hopefully get a little bit of cover when this thing passes over again, because I don't see any possible place to, like, are there any crevices or nooks or crannies or anything like that are around where we could, like, duck into?
You see that the plummet of the drop, if you were careful, you could try and descend. Likewise, you could try and ascend one of these pillars. There's many handholds and footholds you can make out if you were lithe or good at climbing. Otherwise, you could try and shake shelter from its passing, but it's either up or down or farther out or something.
Yeah, she's just gonna freaking be here and squat down and hope for the best.
Gift, what do you do?
All right, I am going to I'm gonna just I feel as if I want to move this way because all the action's happening over there. She wants to kind of get over here. And she's going to move the Dust Devil to here, next to where the mother is, so that if the creature decides it wants to climb down, it'll be in that square, per se. So it's, well, and how high is it? 15 feet?
Yeah, 15 feet.
Okay, so it's too high because it's only 10 feet high. But it's directly below him. We're going to do that. It's directly below him, but 5 feet below him, the Dust Devil. And everything else is not discernible, right? Like, so like those other creatures were destroyed, like melted to nothing. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. Thanks for that. That's very helpful. Yeah, I'm going to do something really dumb, I'm sure. But we're gonna try it. This is the dragon. Can I even see the dragon?
You see it coming, its wings flapping as they flicker with flames as they wreathe against the air. You see the loud bellows and roar of the dragon as it swoops down for another blow.
All right. Yeah. So no, I can't do that. We're gonna do this instead. Sorry, changing my mind. Getting used to new characters. I'm actually gonna come this way and kind of get in this little cranny over here. But that's still within 30 feet of this guy, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna retcon that too. All right. Like I said, getting used to new characters, if you don't mind, sir. So I am going to cast another one of your spells. I'm going to cast Absorb Vital onto that creature that is floating 15 feet in the air.
Awesome.
So she creates another sigil onto the ground. This one looks a little bit like a check mark with a long line at the end of it. And yeah, she cast that at him. He must make a Constitution saving throw.
Awesome. It got a total of 15.
Yep, I have a 16.
All right.
So 20
20.
intelligence. Nice. So that is 1d8. Oh, that's an 8 again. So he takes 8 necrotic damage, and I gain 8 grit points.
There you go. Any excess that would put you over become temporary grit points instead.
But it doesn't. In this instance, I'm only down by 2, which is nice. And then at the end of my turn, I'm going to move the Dust Devil over top of him. All right, well, underneath him.
Yep. Bone Whisperer, you hear the telltale roars of this primordial dragon of elemental flame coming back for another swoop. As the sand has moved and shifted and reveals the essentially unconscious body of this tiefling in the cage, limp. You still see the ragged breaths still rising and falling, but this tiefling seems to be no longer tugging at the chains and at the cage that holds him or holds her. What do you do?
Are there any dead Sisuri within 30 feet of Bone Whisperer?
Absolutely. There is.
Are there 2?
Actually, there's corpses that are down at the bottoms of these things, and I guess there's one corpse that's kind of like melting in a puddle of suri underneath this wagon, and there's one on top of this this pillar here. Other than that, they're all actually down in the crevices below.
Okay. Well, as long as they're within 30 feet, she is gonna try and you just see that she begins to just kind of slice her hands with her very long, almost talon-like nails along her palm. And just again and again until she gets a really good flow of blood. And she just kind of holds it and she just kind of coats her palm in it, and she holds her staff, her quarterstaff, with this bloody palm, and she lets it go, and she puts the staff up into the air, and you'd hear these moans coming from the dead Sisuri, like these quick exhale of breath that is soon garbled with water, as she's going to cast Extract Water on 2 of them. if she can upcast.
Yep. And so from them you draw these bubbles of water that float and ascend towards you. Because you're targeting two things, you get to roll the d4 twice.
It's 2d6, right?
Well, let's see what our book says.
It's D6. I'm
water.
looking at the electronic one.
Yeah, so yeah, one d6 per body.
Okay.
So 2d6.
So I got 7.
Nice. You pull out 7 units of water from these corpses.
She is going to put that water at the fire.
And that's enough to extinguish the wagon.
And so you'd hear Bone whisper, whoops, wrong one. You'd hear Bone whisper, just, let's go, leave, bring the tiefling. And she's just gonna, boop, go that way, with her spirit guardians following her.
Carnage.
Yep.
What do you do? This dragon is incoming.
Carnage knows that. And he looks around to his companions.
You heard, we need to get moving.
And he like stalks forward. And is there a lock or anything on this cage?
It's
Anything?
too rudimentary, just made of
Too
wood.
rudimentary? He just takes his arm. Doesn't even use the halberd, just takes one of his arms and wrenches the front of this wood cage right off. And I imagine that he's strong enough that he just picks up this lithe, like, tiefling lady and just hefts her over his shoulder.
Yep.
Holding the halberd in the other arm. He looks back to Gift and to Gobachun.
Let us get moving. We won't have much time. If that thing comes back.
And he looks to one of the melted Sasuri in front of his feet.
We're as good as its lunch.
And he'll stalk forward, following Bone Whisperer.
Awesome. And you can move yourself to where your destination is.
Okay.
As the dragon comes back for another swoop. And it gets louder and louder and louder as it approaches. And it hovers above this site, kind of flapping back on these big wings, and you can feel the heat of its presence. And it passes you by. But as it does so, it exhales another wave of heat that basically just underneath it. And so all of you, please, that are in that area, need to make a dexterity saving throw to get out of the way of the heat as it makes another swoop. And Carnage will make this with disadvantage because he is burdened by the body.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Thank you for letting me know that.
And Gobachun can
Gift
do
in
it
it?
with advantage. Gift is not in it.
Okay.
Gobachun can make it with advantage because of the cover. So you smash the cage and you're bringing the lady with you.
Well, fuck. I got a 2 plus 1. That makes that a 3.
All right.
Oh shit. I hear the dice.
There's so many.
Okay. Whew, that's a lot of 6s.
Hey, Carnage, it was nice playing with you today, buddy.
Yeah, it was nice. 12, 15, that's 35.
What's my going out song, kids? Like, what song are we gonna play?
You
So
and
that's
me both.
46 points of fire damage. Would be dealt to those who got under a 15. Because 15 was the DC to pass.
Okay.
So it's 46. That's cut in half for you, Chad, for 23 fire. And those who've succeeded take 23 fire as well.
I am down.
Gobachun falls. The Suri, as it's being overwhelmed by this wave of heat, just lifts himself up in the air, and one word in common leaves its mouth. Master! Before it's boiled and melted away like a candle. It becomes nothing more than just a pile of bone and melted corpse. The dragon passes by, and you can see it rearing back as it swirls around and comes again for another swipe, or another swoop, my bad. Gobachun, you're down. Make me a death saving throw, please.
$19, motherfucker.
That's one success for you. Gift. What do you do? Oh, by the way, sorry, these wagons erupt in flame again. Oh, less of a burning bonfire than the last time because a lot of the fuel has been already burnt up.
Okay. Well, let's do this. I'm gonna come around the corner and see the big gray green scary lady on the ground, right?
Yep.
Did that make my dust devil go away?
I deleted by accident. That's what happened.
Okay, yeah, because it's theoretically it's fine. Lasts for a minute, but I may actually do a concentration spell here, so we'll hold on a second. I am not though. All right. And she looks at her on the ground, and then looks further up the way at Bone Whisper. Am I to help her?
Bone Whisperer would just look at you and just kind of tilt her head at you.
Like, duh, right?
Just like kind of tilt her head.
And she looks back down at, again, the woman that horrifies her. Give me just 2 seconds. I wasn't really ready for this one. Oh my god, that's insane looking. And around her body, she draws a sigil. And it's the most intricate sigil that she's done yet. It has a few straight lines, but it also looks a bit like madness. And it lights again all around her body. And I cast Transfer Vitality to her.
Ooh. So you got choice here. You're going to transfer your grit to her, or you're going to transfer your blood to her. And do note that giving her your grit won't do anything because she's unconscious. She needs a little bit of blood to pop back up.
Yeah, I give her 1 blood point. Right? Because I can only transfer 1, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I transfer 1 blood point of mine to her.
And with that, Gobachun, you come awake. You're dazed, you're confused, you're battered. The world around you, it's ringing. Your ears are swollen. Your body is on fire. It feels so hot. You're developing blisters and red hot sores all over your body. So you are conscious, but you're extremely dazed for being out of grit points. You have the gritless condition, which means basically everything you do is at disadvantage, and everything done against you has advantage.
And I reach down to her to give her my hand and say, I think we're leaving. And she helps her up to her feet. And as a bonus action, I'm gonna move my little devil. But I don't really know where to move it to. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna. Ooh, what about this? Can we use this kind of maybe fun like because it's creating wind? If I was to like move it over these things, would it put them out or would it stoke the flames?
I say that the wind speeds caused by your dust devil are enough to definitely fan back the flames, especially with all the debris that you're swirling around, really suffocate it.
Okay, so the cart is the most raging inferno out of all of it, so I put it directly over the cart, which I believe also makes it outside of that. And then I would think that I have half my movement left, and I would like to move over here, so that I'm getting close to where my friends are. That's also going to put me in line where the damn dragon is. Oh well, let's try it again.
Bone
Thank you, sir.
Whisperer, it is your turn as the hot flames behind you begin to suffocate as the swirling sandstorm comes again and buffets you from behind. You see to your left Carnage over the shoulder, firefighter style, holding the unconscious body of this ragged, just rag-wearing tiefling woman that's emaciated and skeletal. Her skin is halfway point in between being full-on red and pale, as if she's sickly or going through withdrawal. What do you want to do?
Carnage is still up, right?
Yeah, just hold the girl.
Bone Whisperer is just gonna yell out to the others, "We must keep moving," and is just going to click on the right thing and move up. And while she's doing this, she's actually going to begin to, her tongue kind of flicks up and down her staff with like the bloody handprint on it, and with that the blood begins to glow and turn to this black color. And as she kind of does this, it begins to peel off of this staff and just goes up into her nose like this smoke. And she is casting False Life on herself.
Yeah, roll some d4, and that's how many temp grit points you get. While she's doing that, it is Carnage. It is your turn.
Carnage is definitely trying to be the carrier of this. He looks back and he sees that Gobachun and Gift are worse for wear and in the midst of traffic, and he's torn right now with decisions. He looks to Bone Whisperer for guidance, I think, for a minute. Like, you want
these people. You want them. If so, I'll bring you the tiefling, get you to a safe spot, and then I'll go back for the others before the dragon comes.
Have faith, tiefling. They will come. We must get to safety.
All right, I suppose. You always were.
And he musters it up, but he looks back because he's thinking to himself, do I really want to leave them alone? And like this inner heat is resonating through his body.
Fine.
And he looks to Bone Whisperer.
But if she dies on your hands, and won't be on mine.
And you see almost like a smirk, as much of a smirk as a Sasuri can give, slide across Bone Whisperer's face. And she just keeps walking.
You feel a little bit of movement, Carnage, on your shoulder as the devil woman you're carrying animates a little bit. You hear the breathing as she snaps awake. You feel her kind of lift her torso up to kind of assess her surroundings. But then one of Bone Whisperer's spirits comes and drains the life from her once again, and she falls down limp on your back.
Son of a bitch. We really need to have a conversation about stuff like this. You want to keep her alive.
And I think he's just frustrated.
And the dragon comes swooping down once again. As it passes, it pays no heed to neither Gobachun nor Gift as it lands on this outcropping above. And it point blank spews a wave of heat at the rubble and ruin of this wagon and catches it all ablaze. And as it does so, it slams down at the base of this canyon. The shock waves send ripples, launching you, Gift, up in the air, and you, same Gobachun. You get knocked as a tail comes and sweeps you by out of the way. As it gets down on all fours, it begins to devour the flames of this wagon on fire as it gnashes, the sound of splintering wood in its teeth made of charcoal and stone. So both of you, Gift and Gobachun, you're going to take 4 points of bludgeoning damage as you're just careened away and knocked away from its meal. And it stands there over its prize. And it looks to the four of you. It does not expel gas at you. It just snarls and continues to devour. Gobachun, what do you do?
I hit the ground again.
All right,
Thanks,
you get
Connor.
concussed once again, unconscious against the stone. Gift, what do you do? I feel like you're muted, Corey.
She just looks over towards her Surrey friend and say, "She's not very hardy." And then looks back towards Gobachun. I don't want to do this, but I don't want to just lay there dead. You know what I mean? So
it's technically the long sleep. You can totally just leave me. It's fine.
Yeah, well, technically you're still part of the party. So yeah, about that. But at the same time, I want to try something that sounds fun, but it's not really interested in us, so maybe we should just run away from it. All right. All right, we're gonna play the YOLO game. She gets a little nervous with having that creature so close to her. She's looking at her downed friend, well, her downed companion, and her friend, and the tiefling that she talks to more than her now. And then she looks up at that dragon again, and she becomes very nervous and tries to cast a spell, but it doesn't work very well. And I'm going to use a wizard feature of the sigil. I'm sure you know what this is going to be, Mr. Connor.
Absolutely.
I'm going to cast improvise sigil at level 3.
Awesome. So roll me that D10 and add 6 to the number. That's twice the level of the spell slot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to consult a table to see what improvised sigil you conjure.
Okay, so 10 plus 6.
16.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, no. But that's what I meant. It's a D10 plus 6. I forgot to say
Yeah,
D10.
sorry. Yeah.
So it's actually 9.
So 9. A spray of colored light explodes from your hand, and each creature within 10 feet of you is blinded until the start of your next turn.
Oh, that's kind of helpful. Is he within 10 feet of me?
No. That would capture Gobachin and Bone Whisperer.
Oh, sorry. And she kind of looks back at Bone Whisperer and says, I got nervous, I'm sorry. And goes and grabs her by the arm because she knows what happened. Or does she know what happened? I guess that's a better question. When that happened, when I do that, do I know the effect of it?
Like when you're improvising a sigil?
Yeah.
Like you don't know what you're tracing wildly in the air because you're kind of like out of options. And so that's what you conjured. Is
Okay.
this brilliant light.
But does she realize what happened? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Okay. I wasn't sure if maybe it was a thing that she was unaware as well. Right, yeah. So she goes and grabs Bone Whisperer by the arm and says, "I'm sorry, it happened again. The bright light, and I know you can't see. So just here, I'll lead you away." And she starts moving that direction. And I'd like to move 30 feet because I'm assuming that Bone Whisperer is going to do the same, but she's going to guide her in the right direction.
Yeah, and you'd hear Bone Whisperer just kind of, as soon as that happened, you'd hear, you stupid waste of a water sack.
Not very nice.
Just lead me to Gobachin.
She's right here, Mother. And we do walk up to where she is, and now I'm assuming it's your turn.
So with Gift's guidance, you're able to go to the corpse or the hanging onto life corpse of Gobachin. You can feel it despite your blindness.
I'm assuming that he ate my dust devil.
I'd assume so too.
Yeah.
With kind of a careful bend of the knee and reaching down ever so gingerly, kind of shaking ever so slightly, when Whisper touches Gobachin and is going to cast Spare the Dying. So it just stabilizes. And then you see her kind of grab one arm of Gobachin and say to Gift, grab the other arm and let's get out of here.
And Carnage, what do you do? As this beast behind you of primordial flame is devouring this inferno, this bonfire in which it perches and stands and just consumes all this rubble and rubbish.
There's a moment when he looks back and he just stops. He's not moving. Like he's following along for the most part, but he gets about halfway. So right about where he is on the map right here. He gets about halfway in the process. They're up here. He's here. He stops and he looks back. And for a moment, that rage, that fire, that aggression, that dragon is just unleashing on this wood pyre. He feels it. His heart pumps. His aggression fuels. He's hungry for that for a minute. Just a minute. And then he looks back at the broken and battered and frailed party. His rags, whatever he has, smoldering from this heat that has already hit him multiple times, but he still stands. And he just shakes off this desire for that pounding inner turmoil. And he pats with one arm the tiefling on his shoulder. I hope you're alive when we're finished with this, because I have a lot of questions for you. And he begins to follow with them in tow, even going so far as to take his free hand and sheathe his weapons so that he would have another free hand to help drag or carry another person if need be.
And as the four of you, the three of you, I guess, clutching and dragging and carrying the corpses of the fallen away from this scene, you make it further unscathed. You descend these winding canyon paths. And Bone Whisperer, as your eyes come back, you squint and you think you see something. And Carnage confirms it. A cave, hollowed away into the side of the canyon, a crevice between rocks and paths. And so you climb into this cave. It's dark. It's deep, far from the heat of the world. And that is where you rest as you lay the corpses, these fallen, against the cavern walls. And that's where we're ending the session. Inside a dark cave. Thank you to my players for having fun with me as I unleashed the wrath of Crifoth upon you. And
yeah,
thank
you really put the cry in Crifoth there.
Yep.
Buddy.
And one word leaves this tiefling's mouth as she comes unconscious for a brief moment. It has begun. Before she falls unconscious once again. All right, that's my actual closing little tidbit. I'm going to go around. I'm going to go clockwise. We're going to counterclockwise, starting with Chad. You can introduce yourself, tell us who you are, about your character and stuff, whatever you want to close this fun game off with.
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chad Nick. I'm on this channel a lot because I love these guys. I love Crifoth. This is super fun. I really enjoy playing Carnage. I'm really enjoying these characters, all of them, and kind of seeing where they all go. But for the most part, what other things? Yes, I have a YouTube channel. You can find me at my YouTube channel, Chad Nick, K-N-I-C-K. You can also find me over at a little podcast called The Dudes of Yore with Jeremy Lilly and Jeff Doty. We do that over there, and it's pretty awesome. I love this, guys. I'm really looking forward to this. I love the idea that this is going to be like a weekly thing. This is super cool. Thanks, guys.
And Corey?
Yeah, my name is Corey, and I played Gift today. She, for those who didn't figure it out, she is a wizard of the sigil crafting variety that these Dice on Ice crazy kids made up themselves. It's in that silly book they talked about today, and we've been played in. It's really cool, guys. I had to try that improvised sigil at the end just because, all new toys, and it's I can't say enough of how creative this is, how different it makes a very, for a lot of us, maybe even sometimes stagnant game feel being 5e. And that I'm so super excited. It's a great cast. And you can see me and some of our friends on the YouTube channel that I'm a part of, called the Dargon Gaming Squad. It's Chris Johnson and some of the rest of us. Yeah, I mean, it's been a blast today, Connor. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you guys didn't wait for me, really, because, I had naughty airplanes at the airport that didn't want to show up on time.
It was all Chad. Let's see. Can I point to him? Can I point to Chad?
Yeah.
It was all Chad's fault because he's like, I made my character last night, but I didn't.
Yeah, I barely finished, so it's all good.
And that after Corey, it's Tamiko. Talk about yourself, please.
Now, see, I should have taken the chat approach to it and just randomly rolled up my character, like, just before, because, Crifoth, great world. Disposable characters, though.
Not dead yet.
Not dead yet. Yeah, no. It's great.
Just very badly burned, literally.
I'm all the bed sores.
But
Yeah.
the annoying little girl actually gave you some of her own blood tonight.
Super. But yeah, no, this is actually, for as much as they talk about Crifoth brutality, you're like, oh my god, that orc's getting her ass handed to her. This is actually the first time I've actually been KO'd in a Crifoth game. So there's that.
It's a first for many. Yeah.
It had to happen sooner or later. But I'm Tamiko. I have nothing to plug. Enjoy the show.
And lastly, we have this person in the corner. Squinting. It's Megan. Hey, Megan, can you talk about yourself?
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm, I guess, a part of this thing of a YouTube channel and writing and all that stuff. So yeah, you see me here. You see me just hanging out, hanging around. So yeah, that's it. I'm really loving this. I obviously really like Crifoth. So I'm excited to see where this goes. And I love the cast, so I'm very excited.
Well, this was Dice on Ice playing some Crifoth. If you were interested in like this shenanigans that ensued, we have a campaign setting that this is all a part of. You can find the drive-through link in the description below. Please click that link. Something cool happens when you click the link, because then you'll go to the cart and you click that button, you click the buy button, something really fantastic happens. You should try it. Try clicking those buttons in that order. Ooh. Yeah, but seriously, if you liked what you saw, please consider supporting us and what we do and what we love to do. If not that, like, subscribe, share, comment, look in the mirror and say you're awesome. Do those things because they make the world a better place. This is Dice on Ice. Dice on Ice. Dice on Ice.
Were you about to say dinosaurs on ice?
I am a dinosaur on ice. I am part of the Triassic era. And we're signing off.
Ice.
And Megan, get us the heck out of here.